Hear me out. Your dreams are always emotionally engaging and perfectly paced for whatever situation you find yourself in. When you are scared, the pacing is either so fast that you find yourself being more scared because of the adrenaline, or the pacing is so slow that you find yourself being more scared because of the feeling that what you fear will never end. What's up with that? Why are dreams perfectly paced? I sleep way too much. We are always emotionally invested in our dreams. Obviously, there's so many reasons that is the case. I mean, we are unconscious and we are in certain states, blah 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 blah. I don't know any of that stuff. I'm just saying that there's this thing with whatever is going on, narratively speaking, in our dreams, where the pacing always matches it. And then there's the question of, is the pacing matching the emotions, or are the emotions matching the pacing? Obviously, this will be answered by knowing where dreams come from. I mean, do they come from our subconscious or alternate realities? Whatever the case, there's this tie between our emotional investment and pacing. And that's also how it goes in movies. Pacing kind of dictates the emotions a reader feels. You're not gonna have a scene filled with the adrenaline and then the pacing of the scene when you are reading it or maybe watching. I don't know how watching it would be changed, but you don't feel the adrenaline, right? You're not gonna see an adrenaline scene with pacing that takes you out of it. Pacing has always been described as a feeling. You can just feel when it's off. It's like background music. If you are hearing a sad speech and the background music is goofy, it's a very different experience. Depending on what kind of movie you're watching, it will feel off. That's what pacing is for dreams. And how do we emulate that effect as writers? I don't know how yet. I'm still learning that. But the point is, we do need to emulate that effect. We do always need to tie pacing for certain scenes. Scenic pacing is not even a word. We need to tie it to emotions. Obviously, the overall pacing is a whole different experience to define, but I'm just talking about scenes. We need to know which type of pacing evokes which type of emotions, because as much as emotions dictate the pacing or the pacing dictates the emotions, we can't tell in a dream, but we can definitely tell in stories, we can tell in writing. And if we figure this out, we can know what's more effective, because there's always multiple options. For example, when you're revealing a twist, you have the option to use fast pacing, so the twist hits you like a ton of bricks very fast, or you can use slow pacing where the twist will sink in more slowly. We get to process this realization, we get to call back everything all at once in that moment where everything is just sinking in, right? And when do we actually know when to use the right type? Because there might be different options, they might all work, but certain options work under certain conditions better than others. If you want to reveal a killer in a mystery and it's someone we've been watching the whole series and we didn't know who it was, you would want the twist to be slow, because, oh hell no, it's him. You are paralyzed by this feeling of betrayal. You want the reader to feel that feeling of betrayal. They've been lied to, they've been successfully deceived. In order to use the fast-paced twist, you can use it when somebody stumbles upon some secret that reveals some information and it's an emergency now. They need to get out of there fast. Like, I need to hold on to this information fast enough so someone can hear me. I can't get out of here. What? Blah blah blah. This evidence. Blah blah. Something like that. Point is, pacing can be used to enhance the emotional experience of a reader, and you need to understand it as a writer. When you read something, when you watch something, try to identify what certain pacing decisions do to your emotions so that you can know how to use them in your own stories. Like and subscribe. Something else that I find interesting in dreams, narratively speaking, is the time lapse of events or anything that happens. Time moves slowly or fast according to how you feel, or again, we don't know whether the feeling creates the time lapse or the time lapse creates the feeling, but you can somehow feel like you are somewhere forever, or you can feel like you are just 10 years into the future. What kind of effect does that have in storytelling? Because clearly time passes metaphorically in dreams. The dream is the ultimate metaphor, and I think art is always a metaphor, and I think we should apply time metaphors in our stories too. Whatever time metaphors we find in our dreams, they can definitely be used in our stories as well. Have you ever ran down a hallway that goes on forever? This is spatial, but do that with time as well. Just allow time to be infinite. Allow Goku to fight Frieza for 10 episodes and call it 5 minutes. Allow it. It's a story. You can do whatever the hell you want, just like in your dreams. And just keep it consistent. Have a steady pattern of when you do what. Don't just pull things out of your who knows where and then call it a technique. No. You must No, make this seem like it's lasting forever when it's excruciating. Or when you are seeing a happy moment, make it seem like it's fleeting. As much as a lot of things happen, just do flashes of, like a montage. Just do flashes and show how fast happy moments are fleeting, just like in real life. When last were you happy? Do you even remember? Probably like when you were a kid, 6 years old, who knows? But then you always remember when you are sad. You know why? Because you're sad right now. Okay, I think I'm done with the point of time lapse now. Now, something that always bothered me about dreams, I say this as a lucid dreamer, is that when I'm in a dream, it always makes sense. But when I am awake and I remember the dream, nothing makes sense at all. Even if I was lucid dreaming, if I knew I was dreaming when I was in the dream, everything would make sense until I wake up. Once I wake up, I remember what happened, but it made no sense. I don't understand it. And it made me think of how the brain would work. How do I think when I'm in a dream? It's almost, isolated in a sense. But when you're awake, it becomes contextual. You start applying all the context to whatever you were thinking. You start applying the events. In the dream, it's isolated. You are just thinking about, what are you thinking about? What's in front of you? You are thinking about one thing, where you are going or where you are running from, what you are doing. But then when you're outside of the dream, you start putting the context. If you remember that your dream is about you running somewhere, you start trying to remember where you came from. Or if your dream is about you running away from something, you start trying to remember where you are going. How do you do that in stories? How do you dictate the way a reader would think? How do you isolate thoughts so that we don't put context? And how do you make us put context so that we don't isolate certain things? I don't know. This is just something I'm thinking about right now. Maybe this isn't as important for storytelling. Well, not immediately important, but I guess it can help you. I think I know how you can use it. Let's see. You know those emotional situations where you do something that you haven't really thought about? You can use it in that sense for certain characters. The character themselves should be doing the isolated thinking. And then when they are out of the situation, allow them to start contextualizing things. Make them do something in a certain context that they would never do in a different context. What am I even saying? In a certain circumstance that they would never do in a different circumstance. Especially if they have an idea that they would never do something. I would never shoot someone, and then put them in a circumstance where if they don't shoot someone, that someone will shoot them. So we went from an isolated way of thinking to realizing that the context would matter, the circumstance would matter. So you can use this part of a dream to do some character work. Good stuff. I'll be frank with you. Use my tips at your own discretion. I am a nobody on the internet who has decided to make videos about my most what-if questions on storytelling. Questions, mind you, that have probably already been proven to be false or true, or whatever the case, I might end up reinventing the wheel. So it's up to you if you wanna explore any of this. This is an exploration venture. This channel is about exploration and experimentation. And watch this video if you wanna know what pacing is, so you can add context to this isolated video.